If you're spending 6 figures a month on meta ads and your ROAS has been quietly bleeding over the last 3 to 6 months, then let me tell you that you're not actually crazy, and it's not your media buyer's fault, because something fundamental changed inside Meta's algorithm in 2025 that completely rewrote the rules of the game, and they call it Andromeda. Now look, you've probably seen a bunch of YouTube videos talking about going broad with targeting or consolidating your campaigns. And that advice isn't necessarily wrong, but it's not the full picture either. Because while everyone's focused on campaign structure and all that tactical stuff, they're completely missing what Meta actually changed at a fundamental level. Like what they're rewarding now as advertisers. And that shift, it changes everything about how you need to think about creative. Because what Andromeda really did was create a creative volume requirement that's mathematically impossible to hit with traditional creative processes. And if you don't understand what actually changed and why it breaks everything, then you're going to keep watching your profitable campaigns die while your competitors scale past you. But here's what's actually crazy. The brands that figured out not only have been maintaining performance after the update, but they are scaling faster than ever while spending less on creative production. And by the end of this video, I'm going to show you exactly how they're doing it. Now, let's start with why Meta actually built it, because it's probably not what you think. Because most people think Meta's ad system is just one big algorithm that looks at your ad and then decides who to show it to. But that's not how it works, because Meta's ad delivery system actually has 3 stages working together. Stage 1 is retrieval. When someone opens Facebook or Instagram, there are literally millions of ads that could potentially be shown to them. And retrieval's job is to scan through that massive pool and narrow it down to a few thousand candidates that might be relevant. You can think of it basically as a filter. But it's not deciding which ad wins yet, because it's just deciding which ads even get considered. Because stage 2 is ranking. Now that retrieval has narrowed it down to a few thousand candidates, ranking looks at those candidates and predicts how likely each one of them is to get the result that you're optimizing for. Will this person click, will they purchase, or will they engage with the ad? It ranks all those candidates by predicted performance. And stage number 3 is auction. Finally, auction takes those ranked candidates and factors in your bid, your budget, and competition to decide which ads actually get shown. All 3 stages work together every single time someone opens their feed. Now, here's why this is actually relevant. Because Andromeda only changed stage 1, the retrieval stage. How do I know this? Well, because Meta's engineering team explicitly said this in their own technical documentation. Meta Andromeda is a personalized ads retrieval engine. They're not saying it's a ranking engine or an auction engine, it's a retrieval engine. And they rebuilt the first stage of the system and left the other 2 largely intact. And you might be thinking, okay, so they upgraded the retrieval stage. Why does this even matter? And honestly, it sounds boring as hell, right? Meta improved their ad retrieval system. Yeah, cool story. But here's why this actually is the most important change Meta has made to their ad system in years. Because retrieval determines which ads even get considered. Think about it. If your ad doesn't make it through the retrieval stage, it doesn't matter how good your targeting is, it doesn't matter how high your bid is, and it doesn't even matter how strong your creative is. Because your ad literally never gets shown to anyone. It gets filtered out before the ranking and auction stages even look at it. And what Meta built to handle this retrieval stage? That's where things get really interesting. Because according to their own engineering blog, Meta Andromeda leverages the NVIDIA Grace Hopper superchip to enable cutting-edge ML innovation in the ads retrieval stage. That sounds like a boring ass feature, right? Except what that hardware unlocks is actually insane. Because the retrieval model can now handle 10,000 times more complexity. And what does that mean in practice? First, it can process way more ads per request. The old system could only look at a limited number of ads when someone opened their feed. The new system can scan through exponentially more ads in the same amount of time, which means it has way more options to choose from. And second, it can understand way more complex patterns. Because the old system used basic matching, like this person liked fitness content, let's show them some fitness ads. But the new system can learn what Meta calls higher order interactions. It can understand subtle patterns like this person engages with fitness content, but specifically UGC-style testimonials and not polished studio shots. And they respond better to transformation stories than feature benefit ads, with way more nuanced personalization. And third, and this is the big one, it can handle explosive growth in creative volume. Because Meta explicitly says in their own documentation, Andromeda is designed to maximize ads performance by utilizing the exponential growth in volume of illegal ads available to the retrieval stage. Now, read that again. They built the system specifically to handle more creative, way more creative, because they need advertisers to upload massive volumes of diverse ads to make the personalization work. And if you're wondering why Meta invests billions to build that custom AI chip, well, certainly not just to be nice to you, because Meta had a problem. As more advertisers joined Meta, and as Advantage Plus Creative started generating dozens of variations per ad, and as AI tools made it easier than ever for brands to produce more creative, the old retrieval system was choking. It couldn't process that volume nor personalize well. And it was becoming a bottleneck for Meta's entire ad business. So they rebuilt it from the ground up, and not to make your life easier, but because their business model depends on you uploading way more creative. And the more ads in the system, the better they can personalize. And the better they can personalize, the more ads people click. And the more ads people click, well, the more money Meta makes. It's that simple. And here's where it gets really interesting. Because the way Andromeda organizes and selects ads is fundamentally different than before. The old system was pretty linear. It will look at signals like, does this person match the targeting? Have they engaged with similar content? And then it would pull relevant ads. The new system uses something Meta calls hierarchical indexing. Think of it like a tree structure. At the top level, you have broad categories. And then those branch into subcategories. Then those branch into specific variations. And Andromeda can go through that tree incredibly fast to find the most relevant ads for each person. But here's the key part. Andromeda prioritizes something called creative diversity. And Meta literally says this in their Performance 5 framework, creative diversification. Consumers become tired of seeing the same ads over and over again, which leads to creative fatigue. So if you're running 100 different hooks on the same body and CTA, Andromeda sees that now as one concept. And it clusters all of those ads into tiny branches that the tree exhausts fast. But if you're running truly diverse creative with different angles, different formats, different psychological triggers, Andromeda sees those as separate branches, which means they pull from different pools and reach different people. And this is where the math starts to break. Because before Andromeda, you need maybe 30 or 40 new concepts per month to maintain performance. You'd find a winning ad, scale it for 3 to 6 months, and just print money with it. But post Andromeda, Meta's own case study shows brands went from 3 to 4 creatives per week to 50. And that's not to scale, but just to maintain performance. Let me say that again. 50 new creatives per week is now the baseline just to maintain. That's 200 ads per month minimum. And here's the problem. Most D2C brands max out at 40 or 50 ads a month. And I'm not just making this up. Let me show you what the top brands on the other hand are actually doing. True Classic, 1,900 live ads. Motion, 2,500 live ads. And Rise, 6,900 ads. All multi-8 and 9-figure brands. Meanwhile, most brands are stuck at 40 ads per month. And that's not a 2x gap. That's 47x gap at the minimum and 172 at the top. And here's why that matters with Andromeda specifically. Remember that hierarchical indexing I mentioned? That tree structure? If you only have 40 ads in your account, Andromeda clusters those into maybe 5 or 10 distinct branches. Which means when someone opens their feed, you only have 5 to 10 concepts that could get pulled. But if you have 500 plus ads properly distributed across truly diverse concepts, Andromeda sees this as 30 to 40 distinct branches in your account. Now that's 4 to 8x more retrieval opportunities, more chances to get shown, and more opportunities to find winners. Because more branches equals more impressions, which means you can find more winners. And most brands literally cannot execute this with traditional creative processes. Now, if you're watching this and thinking, okay, Felix, I get it, but how do I actually produce that volume without burning out my entire team? Well, that's exactly what I help D2C brands do. We install a hybrid AI creative system that produces 500 plus ads a month without you getting stuck in the weeds. If you're spending at least 100k per month on Meta ads and want to see how this would work for your brand, then just shoot me a DM on Instagram. But whether you work with me or not, here's what you need to understand. Producing more volume is only half the battle, because here's what I see all the time. Brands finally crack that volume problem. They start pumping out 100, 150, even 200 ads per month, and their performance barely moves. Why? Because they're making the same mistake. They think, I need more ads means I need more random ideas. So they just test whatever comes to mind and hope something sticks. But as we already covered, Andromeda doesn't reward just random volume. It rewards strategic coverage. And there's a specific framework that we use with our clients to systematically map out over 3,375 ad concepts across Andromeda's entire ad retrieval engine. And once you understand how this framework works, everything clicks into place. Now let me show you exactly how we do it. This is what we call the strategic coverage framework. And it's specifically designed to align with how Andromeda's retrieval system actually works. Instead of randomly creating ads, you map out your creative systematically across 4 different dimensions. Dimension 1, the customer segments. First, you identify the distinct customer segments you're trying to reach. And by that, I don't mean more broad demographics like women 25 to 45 years old, but actual psychographic segments based on what problem they're trying to solve, what stage of awareness they're at, and what their primary objection is. For example, a skincare brand might have segment 1, like prevention focused, early signs of aging. Segment 2 might be correction focused, so visible aging concerns. And segment 3 may be sensitive skin frustrated by harsh products. These are fundamentally different people with completely different emotions. Dimension 2, big ideas. Next, for each segment you identify 3 to 5 big ideas. And a big idea is essentially the core concept or vehicle. So for example, for segment 1, the prevention focused, we could have your nightmare routine is aging you. And big idea 2, the 3-second morning ritual. And maybe why your dermatologists use this instead of retinol. As you see, each big idea is a distinct concept that would trigger different psychological responses. Now, dimension 3, angles. Now, for each big idea, you create 5 specific angles. These are variations on how you approach that one big idea. For example, for big idea 2, the 30-second morning ritual, your first angle could be before your coffee gets cold. Angle number 2, what celebrities do before makeup. Angle number 3, maybe the dermatologist's morning secret. Angle 4, while you're brushing your teeth. And angle 5, the anti-aging step that you've been skipping. It's all the same big idea, but each of those angles takes a slightly different approach to communicating it. Now, dimension 4, formats. Finally, for each angle, you test it across multiple formats. So for example, UGC testimonial, before-after transformation, educational breakdown, product demonstration, founder stories. It's the same core message with different execution styles. Now here's where it gets really important, and this is what most people miss. For each format, you need to test at least 3 different hooks and 3 different visual approaches. Why? Remember how I said Andromeda has 10,000 times more capacity than the old system? That means it's not just looking at broad categories anymore, but it's analyzing your ads at an incredibly granular level. Andromeda doesn't just see UGC format, but it analyzes the actual hook pattern, so problem solution versus curiosity gap versus contrarian claim. And the visual style, so talking head versus B-roll versus text on screen. So if you test one UGC format with one hook style and one visual style, Andromeda sees that as one branch. But if you test that same UGC format with 3 different hook patterns and 3 different visual styles, that's 9 distinct variations that Andromeda can pull from across different micro segments. And here's why that makes this even more powerful. When you intermix them, like hook 2 with visuals 3 versus hook 1 with visual 1, Andromeda sees those as completely different ads. So different enough that it can match them to different micro audiences within the same broader segment. Now this is critical, because 2 people might both be in segment 1 and respond to big idea 2. But one person responds better to problem agitate hooks with talking head visuals, while the other responds to curiosity gaps with B-roll footage. With the old system, those 2 people might have gotten the same ad, but with Andromeda's 10,000 times capacity, it can match each person to the exact combination of hook plus visual that they're most likely to engage with. If you only test one hook and one visual, you're leaving that second person on the table. And at scale, you're leaving thousands of impressions on the table. So the real math looks like this. You have 3 customer segments with 5 big ideas per segment, then 5 angles per big idea, 5 formats per angle, and 3 hooks per format with 3 visual approaches per hook. I know that's a lot, but you end up with 3,375 creative variations. Now, here's why this framework actually works with Andromeda. Remember how Andromeda uses hierarchical indexing? Your framework literally is the hierarchy. Each customer segment is a top-level branch, each big idea is a mid-level branch, each angle is a sub-branch, and each format is a bottom-level variation. And each hook plus visual combination is basically like a leaf node. And here's what happens. When someone opens their feed, Andromeda looks at their profile. Like, this person matches segment 2 characteristics, so it pulls ads from the segment 2 branch. Now, they've engaged with transformation content before, so it prioritizes big idea 2 and 4. And they respond to celebrity secret style angles, so it pulls those specific angle variations. Now, they prefer UGC style content, so it pulls all the UGC variations. And if they respond better to problem agitate hooks with talking head visuals, then it can show that specific variation to your viewer, and your ad gets retrieved, because you've mapped your creative to exactly how Andromeda organizes and selects ads. And here's the powerful part. When you map out everything like this, then you can instantly see your coverage gaps. Maybe you've tested 15 different concepts for segment number 1, but only 3 for segment number 2. And that's a gap. Or maybe you've tested big idea 3 across multiple angles, but only in UGC and before after formats, but never in educational or demo formats. That's another gap. Or maybe you've tested multiple formats for a specific angle, but you've only used curiosity gaps hooks and never tested problem agitate or contrarian hooks, and that's another gap. All of these gaps are different opportunities because every gap is a branch of the hierarchy that Andromeda isn't pulling from, which means you're leaving impressions on the table. So instead of random brainstorming sessions where you go, what should we test this week? And Andromeda sees your account as having high creative diversity across multiple branches of its hierarchical index. And that's everything you need to know about the Andromeda update and how it's completely changed the creative game for D2C brands. Now, if you want to see how we actually generate 500 plus ads every single month using a hybrid AI creative system to execute this framework at scale, then I have a separate video breaking down the entire system. I'll put it somewhere here on the screen, and now go apply this, and I'll see you in the next one.